Hi guys, political commentator Theo Usherwood raised a very interesting point when he was asked about what the new Labour government is doing for both working people and pensioners. Now, the current narrative is that people on pensions are being harmed by a cut in support for them, while the government is giving junior doctors and rail workers a pay increase. In real terms, the plan is to means test the winter fuel support pensioners receive, and it's claimed that it will save the government £1.5 billion. Theo explains that in the past the Tories would focus more on pensioners as a voting bloc, so Labour have to counter that. But is it a good political move?
It's a difficult dance for Rachel Reeves at the moment for lots of reasons. But she's talking about, Labour have given a 22% rise to junior doctors in their salary, 15% for trained drivers, and many pensioners saying, well, hold on a second, you're now essentially, basically means testing winter fuel allowance. 10 million pensioners will lose that money. And they look to junior doctors, trained drivers on big salaries and say, look, to govern is to choose, fair enough, that's the issue. But actually, where is Labour's priority here? That's the question many people are asking.
So since the 2008 financial crash, governments just haven't had the money to be able to spend it on everybody. They've had to make choices. And if you think to 2010, David Cameron and George Osborne, they were very clear, and Conservatives have been very clear, that when it comes to drawing where their priorities are, it was always going to be pensioners. Pensioners, they knew they voted, they knew they tended to vote Conservative, and they weren't going to do anything. That's why they created the triple lock for pensions that got in the way.
Which, in fairness, Labour says it will continue.
And Labour has said that it will continue that. Now, I think what you're seeing is a strategic shifting of the boundaries, shifting of priorities by Labour under Keir Starmer to say, actually, we're going to prioritise working people, and if you're looking where the burden is going to fall, then the elderly pensioners are going to not going to be in a receipt of so much support. But you're right to say 10 million pensioners is all but the very poorest on pensioner credit that are going to lose out when it comes to this winter fuel allowance, on top of what, of course, Ofgem announced last week when it came to the price cap going up by £146.
See, there has to be a shift, because if the Conservatives had been focusing on the pensioners at the expense of everyone else, and we saw, for example, junior doctors who haven't had a pay increase for 10 years or more, then it makes sense that somebody would say, look, we need to focus now on working families, or we need to focus more on workers. Because pensioners, look, not all pensioners are in this boat. Not all pensioners own their own homes. Not all pensioners are living a comfortable life. But it's difficult politically to justify giving money to pensioners who are well off while there are people struggling. So while the narrative is being flipped in a sense, saying, look, there are all these pensioners who are struggling, why are you giving money to people who haven't had a pay increase in over 10 years? So what Labour are trying to sell, I believe, is that what we're doing is we're focusing on people who are working, not people who are pensioners. Now, most of the voters that Labour are looking to have on their side are working people, are people who work in the NHS or in the railways or whatever. So they need to be seen to be looking after those people. The Conservatives were looking after pensioners to a certain extent, making sure house prices did not go down. There was a major focus on making sure house prices continue to rise. This was, of course, to protect pensioners, making sure that the triple lock was in place. Labour are going to actually continue supporting that. So Labour are not, in all senses, throwing pensioners under a bus, but it certainly is the case that their focus is away from pensioners to working people. And if you want to grow the economy, you need to focus on working people. Focusing on pensioners will not grow the economy, because pensioners obviously don't work, or generally don't work. So helping working people, making sure that they have enough money in their pockets to pay their bills, to pay their rent, pay their mortgages, making sure that they're better off, helps improve the economy, because they're the ones who go out and spend the money. Pensioners don't spend to the same extent as everyone else. Now, there are, of course, people who are not being mentioned here, people on benefits or people who are working but on low wages, who are going to be struggling during this winter. Why is the focus on pensioners and not on them? So I believe the focus is on pensioners because, once again, the Conservatives know that they are the ones who will vote for them. So the media, the Tories and their friends in the media will focus more on pensioners than anyone else for political reasons. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.